Hi everyone, welcome to the Electricmotorgp show. My name is Nee, I'm your usual host, and welcome to 2025. This is going to be the first video of 2025, and the first video I'm going to be doing is to do a review of the best cars of 2024. And the second video that I'm going to be doing will be the worst cars of 2024, which I was really looking forward to doing because of how disappointed I was in some cars. But we're not going to talk about that today. Today, we're going to talk about the cars that we definitely enjoyed for 2024 and the things that we really liked about them. Now, I'm going to give you the criteria which we've used to do the assessment for the cars that we're doing for the best cars for 2024. We looked at number one, the ride handling. This includes the chassis, the way it corners, and the way the car itself feels when you drive it. We looked at charging speeds, whether or not they were able to charge effectively, how fast they charged, and how easy it was to get them charged up. The third thing we use as a criteria was space, whether or not the car had a decent amount of space, was it comfortable and easy to get into, was it practical in the context of being able to put stuff into it and making sure that things were able to function very well and families or individuals were comfortable getting their things into the car. Did it represent good value for money? And this is one of the ones that a few cars struggled, and this is why the list is not the way some people will prefer it. And if you don't agree with my list, I'm very happy for you to jump into the comment section. Let me know what you think. Let me know which cars you think are the should have made the list that didn't make the list, and which cars you think will represent better value for money. The fifth criteria, was it fourth now? I've lost. No, fifth criteria was range. How far you could get on a single charge. Was it comfortable for you to drive? How easy it was for you to do your daily commute in the car? The sixth point we checked was the battery size. Was it a decent battery size? So most of you know the viral video I made about the Mini Cooper Aceman S, which came in with a 39 kilowatt hour battery. This is really important to me. You can't have a decent EV without a decent battery, and 100% the Mini Cooper Aceman is not on this list. And most importantly, comfort. What were the things that this car put into things to make the ride more appealing to consumers? How comfortable was it? Did it make you feel good? And there are a few cars that should have made this list that didn't make this list for a variety of reasons. So what I will do, I will start off with the honorable mentions. Cars that did not make the list that probably should have. And there are a variety of reasons why they didn't make the list. I'll start with Lucid Air. It's only sold in America. It's expensive, so it doesn't represent good value for money, but the tech is good, the ride handling is good, the charging is good. But definitely, it didn't make the list for those reasons. The XPeng P7, it's not out. As much as the spec sheet is phenomenal, it's not out, so it didn't make the list. The U8, BYD U8, it didn't make the list because it didn't represent good value for money for most people. Not that it doesn't make good value for money. If this car was built by a legacy automaker, this car would be in excess of $500,000. So for what it does, the U8 is a fantastic car. Does it tick every other box? Yes. Ride handling, good. Charging, good. Space, good. Value is subjective. It has to do with where you sit. But for what it does, definitely it represents good value for money. The range is good because it's a hybrid car. It's also a supercar. So this car is phenomenal. Unfortunately, it doesn't make the list because it's only a very unique segment of the market. It only represents about 1%. But the U8 is probably, in all honesty, the best car of 2024 to me. The XPeng Mono represents good value. Just started selling, numbers look good, charging is good, handling is good. It should have made the list, but XPeng Mono just misses out. Fangchao Bao B5, this good ride handling, good charging, good space, good value, range is good, battery size is good, it's very comfortable. It's only beginning to get sold outside of China now, which is one of the reasons why it didn't make the list. But is it a fantastic car? Answer is yes. NIO ET9, Fantastic. If anyone hasn't watched the video, go see the video of the CEO sitting with the former CEO of Volkswagen, sitting in this car with the tray of champagne flutes filled with champagne going over bumps. That's all I need to tell you. It didn't spill, didn't do anything. It made the Mercedes Maybach look like it was crap. Excuse my French. It wasn't. Look, for Legacy Auto, you guys you're being made to look silly by the Chinese cars for a lot of reasons. But the idea in which the CEO of NIO sits down with the former CEO of Volkswagen and then puts, and I know the Germans are going to come from his Volkswagen, I know that, but we're not German, so forgive us. It made the Mercedes Maybach look like it was awful. And that just tells you how good the suspension on the ET9 is. The ES5 should be on this list for a wide variety of reasons. It is not. And that's because while I appreciate the battery swap technology that is being done, I do think that the annual cost for doing that might be something that I'm not particularly a fan of. So for me, it's a struggle for me to say that it represents good value for money. However, I am beginning to learn more about the NIO brand. And for you guys here, I've just found out that the NIO brand is launching in multiple different countries in 2025. And I'm going to try and do my best to try and get you access to those cars so that you can be able to experience why people are falling in love with NIO. The ZEEKR EX5, it should be on this list. But it launched pretty late and the sales have not been that great. And the sales have been great, but it hasn't gone out of China as much as I would love to see it. It's coming to Australia. I hopefully believe that once it comes to Australia, it's probably going to be one of the best-selling cars for Australia for 2025. The reason why I say so is it's very, very rare for you to have a vice president, CEO, come in specifically to get a group of journalists from Australia, fly them out to China, put them on a racetrack, get them to test drive, then sit down with them to get their feedback to see the things they want to improve on the car. Now, there's spy videos that have shown that the EX5 is already in Australia and they're testing it to make the adjustments ahead of its launch, probably around April. This makes me really impressed about the fact that they're listening. And for me, one of the things I do appreciate from car companies is the fact that they listen. And this one, the BYD Global, the BYD parent company, is one of the best companies at doing this. I've got to give them kudos for that. Honorable mentions that didn't make this list were the Xingli, which is capable of doing almost 1,600 kilometers, even though on the CLT cycles it says it's 2,000 kilometers. It's a hybrid car that has got a very, very good technology in it. It's able to do fast charging. It's got a good range. Like I said, it's a hybrid and it's capable of doing 1,600 kilometers on a single charge and a full tank, which is about 60 or 70 liters. So the Xingli definitely should be on this list. And it's probably one of the best-selling cars in China, but it hasn't been sold significantly outside of China, which is the reason why it didn't make the list. I've had a brain freeze, I'm sorry. The BYD Songel, handling, one of the best cars that you can test drive. I haven't test driven it because it's predominantly sold in China. And this is one of the reasons why it didn't make the list. I wanted cars that were sold not only in China, but sold outside of China that people had access to. So the cars that didn't really make the list were cars that didn't meet all the criteria for this. Now, I'm going to start with what I believe to be my car of the year. Not because I'm a Tesla fanboy. I'm not. I really, really don't like the way Tesla does a lot of things. So if I'm naming it as one of the contenders for cars of the year, it's because it's done a lot of things that people should take account for. What don't I like about Tesla? Why, if you're sure of your product, you shouldn't be charging people $400, $500 non-refundable fee to get to order a car. That's ridiculous. And your customer sales in Perth are scamming people out of their money. So people will book a car and for one reason or the other, they'll say your money's gone. So if for example, I have a mate who ordered a Tesla Model Y to give to his wife for a birthday present, and he was told it was going to take 6 weeks for the car to get here, and he switched from a Tesla Model Y to a Tesla Model 3. He lost his $400. That's ridiculous. That's poor service. And this has happened to people I know, including me as well. I'm not a fan of it. So I'm not a Tesla fanboy in any way, shape, or form. I think the customer service requires an uplift for 2025. However, what did Tesla do very well for 2024? They did something by reducing the price, bringing a lot more people into the market space to have conversations about EVs. Not because people are buying them. For 2024, there's been I think it's about a 16% drop or a 20% drop in sales for Tesla for the whole of 2024 in Australia. So definitely they're doing a few things wrong. Customer service is one of the things they do. And I really don't like companies that have a poor customer service. So, but by lowering their price, they were able to bring more people into the conversation. By innovating in this space, they've done a lot of things right, which is the reason why the Tesla Model Y is the benchmark for everyone that's trying to get in. And a lot of the cars that are on this top 10 list, I have benchmarked the Tesla Model Y. Hence why I've put it on there. Now, in terms of ride handling, over 5, I've given it a 4. The suspension on the Tesla Model Y is too firm, which means every single bump you feel, it's really uncomfortable when you drive it. I'm not a fan of it. Charging, look, it's a 400 volt architecture that can do 250 kilowatts DC fast charging. Awesome. Space-wise, they've got it right. Interior, not so much. Boot space, definitely. So it's not a bad car. It's got a good compromise in there. For value, I've put it as a 4/5 because there are other cars that do better for the price that it's doing there. Range, definitely top in there, 5/5. Battery size, 5/5. Comfort, 4. Realistically, it should be a 3, which gives it a 31, 32 over 35 score in this segment. Tesla Model 3, I don't like the car. Whenever I drive it, it's too low, it's uncomfortable for me, but that's my preference. However, ride handling, I've put in the Highlander model, and the Highlander model, I'll definitely give it a 4/5. The ride handling is much better in the refresh than in the old car. Charging, 5/5, no questions. As I said earlier on with the Model Y. Space, 4. You know why. Boot space is not so great. It's not really a family car. If you're single, if you're a young couple, but it's not priced as a young couple car. It's a bit on the pricey side. Value, 4, based on what I just said. Range, 5/5. Battery, definitely 5/5. Comfort, like I said earlier on, 4. So which gives it a 30/35. It's a decent car. It's awesome. Kia EV5. This to me is probably my number 2 car for the year for a lot of reasons. The Kia EV5 is practical. It's boxy, which I love. I love boxy cars. It's spacious on the inside. It's spacey. It's roomy. It does a lot of things right. The range is okay. The Air model, I have a problem with. And Kia, you've got a few things wrong. 160 kilowatt hour motor, 160 kilowatt motor on this car is underpowered. That's why it's doing 0 to 108.8 to 9 seconds, which means you struggle to pull away at red lights. You struggle to pull away when you needed to pull away. It's not great. The Earth, definitely, that I recommend wholeheartedly. It does 0 to 100 in about 6.6 seconds or 6.5 seconds. It does the job it's supposed to do. So the EV5 definitely for me is a contender for car of the year for 2024. In terms of ride handling, it's a solid 4.5. Charging, not great. Not great at all. So it's a 3. Space, it's a 5. Value, it's a 5. Range, it's a 4. Battery size, it's a 4. And comfort, it's a 5. So which puts it about 29 to 30 as well, similar to the Model 3. This car shouldn't be on this list, but because of what it does, because of the things that it does, it definitely has to be. And I will tell you that I'm not the only one that's looking in this space. So if you go look at the sales figure for Leapmotor for the month of December, for the first time in their history, they sold over 40,000 cars. That tells you something. Leapmotor, you guys need to watch Leapmotor. They're coming. And they represent good value. My dad and I went in to see the Leapmotor C10. Was it Christmas Day or no? It was on the 27th of December. Awesome. He was impressed. So impressed that he went to research it and started looking at the Leapmotor C16, because that's a car that he would definitely want to buy. So, and that makes you understand exactly what I'm telling you about Leapmotor C10. The Leapmotor C10s, in terms of ride handling, this car's been tuned by Maserati, drives very well, definitely solid 4/10. Charging, not so great. It's not a fast charger. So I put it as a 3.5. Space, a solid 4. Does what it's got to do. It's got a 420-litre boot. It does the job it's supposed to do. It for the price it's being sold at. This car is the same size as the Tesla Model Y on most of the specs, but it's being sold at the price of a BYD Atto 3. Awesome, awesome. This car represent if it was possible for me to give this car 6/5 for value, I would give it 6/5, and I probably should. So space, solid 4, 4.5. Let's say 4.5. Value, 6/5. No questions. The entry model is coming in at $43,000, $44,000 drive away. The up-spec model is coming in at $51,000 drive away. Awesome. There are very few cars, with the exception of the Geely EX5, which I mentioned to you earlier on. Once the Geely EX5 comes into the market, the Leapmotor C10 is no longer going to be the best value for money on the market. The EX5, if it's priced correctly like they're suggesting, which is going to be sub $40,000 AUD, then the Geely EX5 is going to be the car to beat. Range, 420 kilometers on the WLTP cycle. Realistically, you're going to be getting about 370 kilometers. It's decent. It's not great, and that's why it's a solid 3.5 there as well. Battery size is 67 kilowatts. LFP, again, solid 4, 5. I'm happy with that, not too worried about it. So this car goes away with a score of 2930. It does the job it's supposed to do. It's a solid car. Now, the Envo L60 is not really sold out of China just yet. There are a few places. I heard it's available now in Norway. I heard it's available in Sweden, and it's coming to Germany. It also is supposed to be coming to a few other places. It's going to be launching in Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand. So I'm expecting that this car is going to go places for 2025. What do I like about the Envo L60? It benchmarks the Tesla Model Y. And if you remember earlier in the video, I said the Tesla Model Y is the benchmark for a lot of cars coming in this segment, a lot of cars. And Envo L60, literally shape, size, battery, tech, everything about this car was benchmarked against the Tesla Model Y. And it does most of what the Tesla Model Y can do, and it does it cheaper and more efficiently. So it does get the reasons why it's on this list. So in terms of ride handling, it's a solid 4.5 for me. Charging, it's a 5. Space, it's a 5. Value, it's a 5. Range is a 5. Battery is a 4.5. And the comfort is a 5 as well, giving it a total score of 33. The ZEEKR X. This is probably one of my favorite cars to drive. I drove this car, and driving this car was phenomenal. You're getting Ferrari levels of performance in this little matchbox of a thing. It's not a matchbox, it's bigger than that. But it was a phenomenal drive. So ride handling for me, the ZEEKR X is a 5. Charging, it's got a fast charger, 5. Space, 3. It's not appropriate. It's a little bit on the small side. You could do better. But it's not bad. Value for money, that's why I've got a little bit of a problem with it. It's priced at $72,000 for the size of it. Now, I'm going to shut up my mouth and say, even though I'm saying that it's not really, it is. If you were buying a sub 4-second car from any of the legacy auto makers, you'd be looking at over $150,000. I test drove Audi e-tron recently, the Q8 e-tron, $162,000. It's slower than this car. Porsche Macan, with the exception of 2 of the more trim levels, the ZEEKR X is faster than almost every trim apart from 2 on the Porsche Macan. So that just tells you what you're getting in this car. So I know I put it as a 4. I know, and I'm going to be honest. It's not being fair to the car, but Oof, this car is probably my favorite car for 2024 to drive. Probably my favorite. Ride handling, the only other car that comes close to this in terms of ride handling and having fun to drive was the Polestar 3. That was a phenomenal car and should be on the honorable mentions list as well. The Polestar 3 was fantastic to drive. But put it into context, the Polestar 3 performance model, 0 to 100 when I tested it was 4.6 seconds. This guy's 0 to 100 in 3.8. That's almost a second apart. Awesome. Range, ZEEKR X is actually pretty good. I'm being fussy. It does 500 kilometers WLTP cycle. I gave it a 4, but it's a solid one. Comfort, oh my God, 5. 5. The interior, the comfort, it's a well thought out car. 30 over 35, easy. XPeng G6. I really love this car. But the fact that everything about this car is focused to Melbourne and Sydney, and there is not a lot of interaction with consumers to realize that, look, you're taking people for granted, is the one reason I don't like this car. I almost didn't put it on the list. As much as I've been a fanboy for XPeng G6 longer than before it came to Australia. But the idea that you're taking your consumers for granted is not something that I'm a fan of. But I'm going to still be neutral and be honest with it. So ride handling, it's a 4, solid. It handles very well, corners very well. I drove it in Sydney. I had a very, very lovely lady test drive the car with me. She was very nice and gave me the opportunity to do 2 test drives. I really loved it. Awesome ride handling. I wouldn't recommend going for the base model, and I will explain why. Even though it's a very good car, it's underpowered. So you find that you're doing 0 to 100 in about 6.8. When I drove it in Sydney, I drove the long range model, which is got a 230 kilowatt motor on the rear, which was powered enough. Not as much as I would like, but powered enough. When I test drove again in Perth, it was the base model. Not so much. So a bit iffy there. Charging, awesome. I know people that have told me that they've plugged the XPeng G6 and plugged it into a rapid charger, and they've been able to charge up to 300 kilowatt hours. So awesome. Charging, 5 over 5. Space, 5 over 5. The Brute has got a 571 litre space. It's decent enough. It has no frunk, but the interior is also comfortable. They've prioritized the interior over the boot space. So it had the potential to have more boot space. It had the potential to have almost 700 litres of boot space. But what they've done is to make the interior also very comfortable. And again, this is another car that's been benchmarked against the Tesla Model Y, which is why I said the Tesla Model Y has to be on this list. Because a lot of cars that are getting on this list have gotten on this list by benchmarking themselves against the Tesla Model Y. And the Tesla Model Y is probably the highest selling car for 2 or 3 years in a row now. So that tells you all you need to know. I'm just not a fan of the minimalistic thing that they've done, and the fact that the Juniper is going to come in without indicator stalks is mind-boggling. Range, easy. This car has got it outperforms the Tesla Model Y in terms of range. Each car, each segment, the range is better in the XPeng G6. So the range is there. Battery, solid as well, 5 over 5. Comfort, 5 over 5. One thing that XPeng needs to take into account for, and this is for the CEO if you ever do get to watch this video, do not fall into the trap of legacy auto in which you dictate what the consumers want rather than giving the consumers what they want. Heads-up display should be in this car. You have your issues with it. You shouldn't prioritize your personal preferences to the expense of what the consumers want. This car should have a heads-up display. That's the first thing. The second thing with this car is that the driver instrument cluster is too low. If you're driving this car, you can barely see it. Hence the reason why you need the heads-up display. It should be higher up so you've got a better view of what's going on and it doesn't interfere with your view outside of a car. This was not great. This requires you to have a think about. Comfort 5/5, solid 33/35, and one of the best scoring cars on this list. I said, and for me to be objective, I've done a lot to remove the level of irritation I've got with the company that imports the XPeng into Australia. I'm not really a fan of the way they're handling things. The way you've handled Perth is not great. You need to fix that. Next on this list is XPeng X9. This, I haven't had the chance to test drive it yet, but I have had a lot of reviews that I've watched, and I've had people that I've test driven this car, people that I do believe that their opinions, and they tell me that this is one of the best cars for you to drive. But what do I like about it? It's the practicality and the value for money. And I'll come back to that in a moment. Now, the good news is that this car is coming to Australia for 2025. And the good news is that it's supposed to be reasonably priced, because all the other cars that sit in this segment are not reasonably priced. And I'll come back to that in a moment. So in terms of ride handling, I haven't test driven it myself, but from what I've been told, definitely I'll give it a 5 out of 5. They've done a lot of things to correct in this car to make it more comfortable. And it also has the performance model with the dual motors on it, giving 400 kilowatts of power. So this car is really, really powerful when you do get it. Charging, all XPengs charge very well. It's one of the things that they do very well. Space, it's got an abundance of space. In fact, let me tell you how good the space is. With all 7 seats up, you've still got about 400 liters of space in this car. When you fold the rear 2 seats, and it's got the best folding rear seats I've seen in any car, period. It folds onto itself, so it folds forwards, grabs the head and everything else, then folds back to give you a flat boot. And it does that with a button, so you don't have to manually faff around, press a button, it does that. It's the best on the market. Nothing comes close to this. Nothing at all. And when you fold that, you get 2,500 liters of boot space. So I'm saying with the 5 seats in place, you get 2,500 liters of boot space. That's phenomenal. So the X9 is, without a doubt, practical, spacious, comfortable, represents good value for money. I've been told, or I've heard, you don't quote me on this, that the X9 is going to be sub 100. And it's the only MPV from China that we've got in Australia that's sub 100 at the moment. So the other cars that probably should have made this list that I didn't put on the list was, it's on the list. It's the next car. My apologies. But the other cars in this segment, so like the ZEEKR 009, which is the next car on this list, it's a lot pricier than that. Comfort, 5/5, battery, 5/5. This guy's a solid 34. Solid 34 over 100, over 35. Solid 34. So this is probably the highest scoring car for the list in total. The ZEEKR 009, good ride handling, good charging. Space is not as good as the ZEEKR 9, but it's spacious as well. So it's a 4 in terms of the space. In terms of value, it's a 4 as well. In terms of range, it's a 5. In terms of battery, it's a 5. In terms of comfort, it's a 5. So it's a 31, 32 for this car, and it does fantastic in there. I'm supposed to be getting the car sometime in the next week, so I'm going to drop the video for you to have a look at and for you to understand how this car drives, and you can have an experience of it. The last car on this list, and it's the only BYD that makes it to my list, and it's not because I don't like the BYD. I'm going to be honest with you. BYD have not bought their best cars to Australia. They do a lot of cars that work very well, and I'm a big fan of BYD's market segmentation. However, BYD needs to try and fix 2 things. And to be fair to them, and I'm going to do a video about this later on, they've already started fixing one of them. The first thing they need to fix is their ADAS system, period. It's not good enough for the level that BYD is at this moment. When BYD was up and coming in the trajectory, they could get away with having an iffy uh, an iffy ADAS. At the level that they're at the moment, they can't afford that. And to be fair to BYD, the press releases and everything that they've done in the last 2 to 3 weeks goes ahead to say that they know this is a problem and they're planning to fix it. So BYD is actively going into AI and ADAS and a lot of things, and they're planning a $14 billion investment to be able to compete. And this is how much I'm following you, BYD, so you can understand that I am giving you the chance to fix things. Is I know that on the 24th of December, they did a test drive of the new ADAS system in China. So obviously this is something that they know they need to fix and they're working hard to fix it. So I fully expect that the 2025 list will have more BYDs on it than the 2024 list. But the only car that makes it onto the list for 2025 is the BYD Seal. And there are two reasons why. The BYD Seal Premium, fantastic car. The BYD Seal Performance, even better. It's bigger than the Model 3. It's more comfortable than the Model 3. The performance is better than the Model 3, and it's $10,000 cheaper than the Model 3. It's beautiful to look at. If you go on my channel, there's a teaser video for the BYD Premium review that I'm going to be dropping in the next few days. This car is it, 100%. The last car on my list that should be higher on the list is the Kia EV9. Now, before I say anything about this car, I'm going to say thank you to John Hughes, Kia in Vic Park, for letting me have the car just before Christmas to test drive the car. The Kia EV9 should not be a halo car. It should be a car that people should have access to. And because you've made it a halo car, you only sold about 600 units in 2024. You should be selling easily this car thousands, easily 10 to 20,000 a year. Reason being, ride handling, 5/5. Charging, 5/5. I actually took this car to go charge it in a supercharger myself to test the charging out. 5/5. Space, 5/5. The boot space with the 5 seats up, the boot space with the 7 seats up, fantastic. The ADAS system is awesome. The ADAS system is awesome. Value is where you trip up. You're selling this car at $140,000. Look, this car, 110, 120, you get a lot more people buying this car. That's a fact. In the video of the review of this car, I got this car to sit beside the rear Land Rover Defender 130, and it's stacked up. So it's got a lower center of gravity than the Land Rover Defender 130, which means that it comes better than the Land Rover Defender 130. It's not an off-road car, it's a family car, and it does the family in very well. The battery size, awesome. The range, awesome. This car easily makes my list 33. The only thing that drops it is the value. Now, the last car that is not technically on my list, but I'd be silly not to mention this car, is the SU7. No one saw this coming. No one saw this coming. No one saw this coming. Xiaomi came out from nowhere saying, we're going to make a car, we're going to make it competitive, we're going to make it easy to drive, we're going to make you want to love driving an EV. We hope we sell 70,000 units. And if we sell 70,000 units, we'll keep making it. First of all, the drive handling is not 100%, but it's damn well near close. It's about 80 to 90%. It handles phenomenally. This car does 0 to 100 in 2.78 seconds. It looks like a Porsche, drives like a Porsche, but it's only about a fifth of the price of a Porsche. Honestly, I've promised you guys a couple of things for 2025. But one of the first things I promised you for 2025 was we could get to 3,000 votes, 3,000 subscribers with lots of interactions with you guys, I will fly to China and I will go drive the SU7 when it launches. I will do that. No questions. But this car is phenomenal. So that's the final car that makes the honorable mentions list, the SU7. For a lot of people, it was the car of 2024. And the reason why, for a lot of people, it was the car for 2024, like I said, it looks like a Porsche. Like the Porsche Taycan, that's exactly how it looks. But the pricing starts at 35,000 USD. The SU7 Ultra is being sold for 50,000 USD. Put that into context of the Porsche Taycan GT, which is being sold for $400,000 AUD, which is about 300,000 USD. And the prototype SU, not the SU Ultra, the one they did specifically for the Nürburgring, phenomenal, broke records. They're not going to sell that to general public because people are struggling to even handle the power that's coming out of the standard SU7 Pro and the SU7 Pro Max. The SU7 Ultra is more powerful than both of them. So it's scary to have that kind of power for you to drive. And honestly, that's one of the cars that I will definitely be looking at to get for 2025 to test drive for you. So thank you very much for sticking with me to the end of this list, and hopefully you had fun. You've been able to enjoy the journey that I've taken you through for 2024 cars that were available. The next video that I'm going to be dropping are the cars that didn't really make it, cars that didn't do very well for 2024. But if you like this video, please subscribe. And if you've got a different list and you think this list is not representative of what you believe, please let us know in the comment sections. And we want to hear from you. We want to understand what you want from us, what you think we should be doing differently, what cars you want us to test drive, and what things you want us to do differently that you would appreciate. And we will definitely take your feedback on board, and we will do that definitely for you. Now, I'm not going to leave without saying thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I started this channel on the 28th of November, and today is the 4th of January, and we're at 1,500 subscribers. I cannot thank you enough for all your appreciation, all your encouragement and everything that you've done. Seeing you guys going to watch the video, seeing you guys subscribing to the channel, seeing you guys watching and reviewing what we've done makes me so happy. So thank you very much for the 1,500 subscribers. I'm really grateful for this, and I'll drop the next video in the next couple of days on the worst cars of 2024. In the meantime, look after yourself and stay blessed, and make sure you have a fantastic 2025.